in progress, I think.
Yep.
I've shared.
Do you want to try again?
Yeah, I've shared already. Okay.
Okay. Coming up.
Coming up. I'm old and old. I am old and old woman. So I learn step by steps.
It's okay. We are still learning. I'm also seldom using this Webex.
Yeah. Well, never mind. We have a try, and please apologize me if I make a mistake around during the talk.
It's okay.
Takes time. Why they have to it has to fly to Kota Kinabalu.
Might take a while. This time it's okay.
Yeah. Wow, really long.
Going
One more.
Still not there. Still starting.
Mana saya punya tu? External. Still going round and round. Just now I tried. It can.
Yeah.
All right. It's already 9. Internet connection. Bukan ini kat sini. Nak buka apa?
Prof. Morning semua. Kita semua been locked out. So be patient a little bit because it's trying to get Prof. Suria's presentation.
Good morning. Thank you.
Okay, here we are. Sheikh Nurul is in, sharing her screen, but Prof. Suria is not in. Okay, he's in now.
Okay. Yeah, I use another computer.
Yeah.
Never mind. I was already. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So I think we just. I think we can start, Prof.
Yeah.
So maybe I will introduce you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So before we start, I think it is good for us to know who is Prof. Dr. Suria Binti Baba. So Prof, it is an honor to have you here, Prof. So we actually are very fortunate to have you this morning to share your knowledge and also your experience. And this is because we know that it's not easy to get you. There's a lot of university trying to get you to, to do the sharing and training. So I would like to give only some backgrounds, which is very the gist of Suria's background. It is a very big CV to tell everything here. So Prof. Suria is internationally well known, not only for her OBE, but actually for qualitative research. She is actually a consultant for NVivo since 2011. And she has also trained in many universities, such as in Thailand, India, Indonesia, as well in Singapore. This goes the same with contribution and leaderships in the development of MOOC and OER at the international level. So we have someone who has a background in qualitative in e-learning as well. And Prof. Suria, probably the most important contribution to the at the national level is in the higher education. Now she's currently the chairperson for the OBE Malaysia Committee, which is well known as Noble, which is we are eagerly to learn today. In relation to outcome-based education, she also contributed to several national agendas, such as ICGPA and also Magnetic. And in terms of e-learning, she is involved in MyCell and also Japan. If we still remember Japan. And all of her footprints in OBE and e-learning are manifested from her countless publications and awards. Malaysia Educational Blueprint, ICGPA rubrics, Japan policy, to name some. From her expertise in outcome-based education, e-learning, and also qualitative research, which is a perfect combination. Prof. Suria is currently the director of the Center of Academic Excellence and Development, University Malaysia Kelantan, which is the same name of our Pusat Pembangunan dan Kecemerlangan Akademik in UMS. So, therefore, again, we are privileged to have Prof. Suria to share her wisdom, also experience on national outcome education global. I hope we can learn from you, Prof. And I hope all of the participants can give some views and also ask for guidance from Prof. Suria. Over to you, Prof.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Denis. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning from Semenanjung, Malaysia, to our dear friends in Sabah and Sarawak. Thank you again, Dr. Denis, the deputy for PPKA, which is similar to our center. We are PKPA. So actually, we just interchange the name within PPKA and PKPA. Okay, so that similarity actually has really touched my heart, and I would like to thank our moderator today, Dr. Denis, who will be running the moderation for within 9 to 12 o'clock, inshallah. And not forgetting my sincere thanks to Dr. Junaida, Dr. Jun, the director for PPKA, and also my thanks to Prof. Vincent Pan, who actually wanted me to come to Sabah last year, combining with the Viva of UMS student. Actually, with UMS, I have been doing a lot of collaboration, and that's why when UMS provide, I would never stop, because I know we can learn from each other. And my sincere thanks to all the participants, from of course from UMS, inshallah. With my little knowledge, I would like to share a few of what have been requested. And of course, from other university, I saw names from all over Malaysia. Thank you again, UMS, for conducting this session. I was given the topic of national outcome-based learning. Basically, this topic is actually being weighted by the everyone in Malaysia, especially when I hope everyone have seen this book, yeah. Hopefully, all participants, yeah, everyone has some sort like, oh, I've seen this book, I've read through the book, or maybe I've seen the cover, but this is so-called like our framework, yeah, for having standards, in our curriculum. So this is very important, and I will definitely touch a little bit later on what we have come out from this important document, and our team has come out with what so-called that the important elements that we have to follow. But first of all, Dr. Denis, may I proceed? Yeah, Dr. Denis?
Sorry, Prof. Yes, you can.
Yeah,
You may
okay,
proceed.
all right. Okay, so there will be two parts that I could share with everyone here. One, as being requested on O Noble, or the OBE, which is the pillar of our executing of our curriculum. Designing our curriculum, and of course supporting it will be like constructive alignment and also the program learning outcomes suggested by MQA. Okay, as everyone know that OBE actually has the entire cycle of plan, do, check and act, PDCA. And we are bound to use this cycle over and over again, because we have already choose, or we have adapt the OBE cycle. Yeah, so our curriculum design are based on OBE. If we refer back to cabinet paper, even though they did not spell out the O, but it's actually on learning outcome, which means the OBE actually replaced output when years when I was studying in my 80s. It was never been exposed this OBE, but throughout entire Malaysia, I guess most of university did not embark in OBE. We actually go on output based. Yeah, so OBE has certain significant characteristic, which I'm going to explain a little bit later. And of course, the OBE has something that everyone is very familiar. We have the entire OBE framework, where we need to know the program objective, PO, program outcomes, course learning outcome. And of course, the CQI takes place every semester, every cohort, and every cycle of the entire study. So these are commonly understood by we as academicians. And of course, these are the framework that we refer in according to in running our curriculum. Yeah? Well, basically, if we are talking about outcome-based education, I would like to emphasize on few elements. And of course, we knew that OBE is something like the processes that a student undergoing. Yeah. And of course, Schwell defines learning as under 3 criteria. As learning is a process of changing the behavior pattern or knowledge of learners. And Schwell has emphasized the 3 criteria, which are it able to change in the individual's behavior or ability to do something, and it able to stipulate this change that might result from some sort of practices or experience. And of course, the 3rd criteria, it able to stipulate the changes in enduring one. So meaning to say, one is learning, and it was supported by SPEDI. It was supported by SPEDI that has introduced the OBE as to describe the design for the education system. And of course, OBE has emphasized on 3 major important parts, which are the curriculum, the delivery, and the assessment. And of course, PD, as you can see from the figure on my right, the outcome-based education, where intended learning curriculum, inform curriculum, delivery and assessment. Within this criteria proposed by SPEDI, there are few more things that underpinning OBE. The important one is UBD. I hope over here everyone's very familiar with UBD. There is something like understanding by design, meaning to say when we develop our curriculum, we have thinking that what are the outcomes that will be explored, what are the outcomes that going to be gained by the student who undergoing this curriculum. Yeah, so meaning to say, Wiggin and McTighe has proposed UBD as important part in OBE. So of course, OBD guides the planning process and structure of curriculum, assessment, and instruction. 2 key ideas of UBD. Number 1, focus on teaching and assessing for student and learning transfer. Number 2, design of the curriculum is actually backward from those ends. Meaning to say, when we design our curriculum and we design our program and courses, we should be able to anticipate what are the outcomes that are going to be going to be gained or adapted by our student or those our end user. So these few elements underpinning OBE are very much important because the OBE has a very strong characteristic in terms of ensuring the students or the takers or the users into going through process from the initial until completing the whole studies. Well, I would like to share something underneath OBE. As everyone understand, OBE cycle actually emphasize on monitoring, evaluations, and analysis. Yeah. Actually, during our days in implementing ICGPA 2015 under Shift 1, focusing on the PLO assessment. Actually, there are parts that we have to really put the emphasis on it. So as we know, as we use OBE as our design, in enduring the curriculum, there are parts that very important at the very early part, which are the constructive alignment, where we discuss on the assessment and what kind of delivery that suits that particular courses. And of course, when we executing the courses, there should be kind of like the measurement on the analysis of the PLOs. Okay. Something. Right. Of course, the cyclic process of OBE need to have data, yeah, whereby during the ongoing semester, the assessment data, the data should be, there will be data assessment entry and data assessment analysis. Of course, the intervention will take place when there will be so-called of unachieved PLOs, which I will explain later. And this is where the reporting and academic takes place. Actually, when we had our ICGPA, that the constructive alignment are the important part in gearing OBE. Yeah, of course, the UBD. And of course, when we go back and look at PDCA, the OBE cyclic process, the entire of this design actually sort of like iterative process. It's not linear compared to the product base, yeah, output base. So OBE is an iterative process compared to a linear process. Why? In getting student learning analytics from the program learning outcome, we need to come out another layer. So there will be first layer, PDCA, OBE cyclic process, and of course there are the processes that going through the whole process, and of course picking up from that cyclic, there will be step one. Everyone knows that we have to set up our cost plan, which I'm going to explain later on, which has to be bound to constructive alignment. And of course, executing the costs, and then we receive the reporting, and the report should be analyzed. And after analyzed, there will be the results, and we will find out student achievement. Those who are achieved, they will be so-called going to the next level. And of course, those who are underachieved, we can categorize to put them or to station them into intervention program. And of course, during this intervention, we're able to improve student PLOs. And this is where we evaluate, monitor, and this is the progress of CQI. And of course, this is what something that I addressed earlier. It is an iterative process rather than linear process. Like at UMK, we have come to a stage like academic analytics. Yeah, we able to do the constructive alignment done. Everyone here know what is constructive alignment, because the system, our online system, actually helps our academician into placing the CLOs to plot into which PLO. Yeah, so that's done in our system. And the second level of our system is to do reporting and academic analytics. So this is the part that is quite tricky, but we are moving towards giving students their learning analytic, whereby we need to know the rules of the development, analytic development, dashboard testing, validation, implementation. At the end of it, student able to understand, and machine learning will explain how that learning analytic will help the student. So in our case, the learning analytics will be able to give information student of certain level. So those are of excellence, or maybe from the superior, or even the student who are at a very low level. So this learning analytic actually represent the learning outcome achieved by the student for each semester and for the entire years of their studies. Right. So basically, there is something like layer by layer on how OBE takes place. Yeah. So maybe I know this is something that trigger everyone here. You might pose any question later on, so that the understanding about OBE is just not designing the curriculum, whether to see you have relevant assessment, relevant delivery, but importantly, how do we know our student achieve those PLOs? That is something that we need to explore, we need to investigate in order to understand the basic principle of what Spetty, Schwell, and Wiggin and McTeague has proposed. And of course, we know John Biggs, the SIFU for Constructive Alignment, actually have given us a very strong support in order for us to enable us to move into running the OBE in our curriculum. So meaning to say, OBE is just not the OBE itself, the cyclic itself, but I wish to make attention to everyone here that OBE has important part in determining student progress. The how we able to determine student progress is looking into their reporting and their result. And of course, by machine learning today, we able to come up with academic analytics. As at UMK, we are very strong in our student reporting, student analysis. We are also in the midst of completing academic analytics. We have done with the system, and we are actually looking into how each and every single of our student benefits from the OBE characteristic. So something that I know everyone will, I know that this is something triggering most of you here, but this is something that we as academicians should understand the spirit of OBE. Rather than, the OBE is a cycle, or PDCA is a cyclic process. You do have to have CQI every semester, and every time you have to do your curriculum review, you need to have the reporting and blah, 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 blah. But the spirit of OBE actually, if I could say, it actually really able to deep dive on the student achievement, because students are with us throughout 3 years, 3.5 years, 4 years, according to the level that they enter. So these are the important part of understanding OBE as the main design of our curriculum. And of course, I've shared just now the Malaysian qualification framework. If we could look through, there are the important part of this book. Of course, the entire book is very important from page 1 to last pages, but meaning to say the learning outcomes whereby there are 5 clusters, which I know everyone are familiar with it. They have 5 clusters, and of course, according to different HE or higher education provider, could maintain the 8 from the 8 cluster, or maybe 10, combining the 9 and 10, or we have expanded into 11 PLOs. So I would like to share what the Malaysian Qualification Framework second edition has suggested. So these are the domains, clusters of learning outcome, the 5 clusters. And of course, each clusters and each PLOs, learning outcome, they have the descriptions and have the descriptors. Yeah? So of course, from this description and descriptor, able us, the program owners, into deciding which main or important clusters or which main important learning outcome that actually represent our own program. For example, at UMK, we are bound to be the entrepreneurial university. Of course, the entrepreneurship learning outcome will be the niche of our program, okay? Depending on each program. Of course, each clusters represent certain criteria from PLO 1, which is understanding, knowledge, understanding, into cognitive skills, into functional skill. There are 6 subcluster under the functional skill, which are practical skill, interpersonal skill, communication skills, digital numeracy, and of course leadership, autonomy, and responsibility. Then the other clusters, the 4th clusters are personal and entrepreneurship skills, which contain the personal and entrepreneurship skill, and the last cluster is ethics and professional. Now, so we have those documents which have been proposed. We have those. We have those clusters, and of course, how do we deliver these clusters into our program? That is the big question mark. Okay? We understand OBE, we understand UBD, we understand constructive alignment, we have this framework. So how do we map all these important elements into designing, into executing, into monitoring, into evaluating the whole processes of our curriculum? Well, of course, I have mentioned earlier, the constructive alignment, as we know, proposed by Biggs at the year of 2003, he has suggested that constructive alignment has 2 major aspects, which are constructive refers to the idea that students construct meaning through relevant learning activities. If I could plug from Vygotsky, ZPD, zero approximality, Vygotsky has some similarity on how Biggs proposed this constructive alignment. Like Biggs' constructive alignment, it is not something that transmitted by default, but it should be designed. Meaning to say, designing the courses, designing the activities should be constructed to the learning outcome. And of course, the important part of the constructive alignment aspect are the assessment. That is what tag along with Wiggin and McTeague, who propose a UBD. Yeah, so of course, within construct meaning proposed by Vygotsky, each of us, each and every one of us, we have prior knowledge. Okay? We have either the prior knowledge is huge or maybe minimal, but every single of us, we have our own experience. Yeah? In our daily life, maybe we have got it naturally, or we have been nurtured to those experience. But to make it more structured, Big has proposed that both constructive alignment, who has put it as 2 phrase, which is a construct, and the other one is the alignment. So the alignment part is what the teacher does, how to set up learning environment that could support learning activities, that appropriate to learning outcome. And of course, the important part is the assessment task that is aligned with the learning activities that assumed to be the intended outcome. So these two important phrases proposed by Biggs under the constructive alignment terminology has a very big meaning, has a very big task in actually executing the OBE. So without understanding the processes of constructive alignment, OBE could not be successfully done because it could fail or it could not put it in a success way. Well, I would like to explain further. Yeah, what Biggs has proposed, that constructive alignment is so-called an approach to curriculum design, where all aspects of teaching and assessment are tuned to support and encourage towards a higher order thinking. That is one part. And of course, when we map into our mission qualification framework, this is where the tricky part of mapping. And I know many of us here, as I have been supervised, I have been evaluating programs, many programs, and of course developing courses, developing a program. These are the very tricky part whereby we as academicians has some doubtful on how to align within the CLOs and the assessment, and of course choosing the right methodology, and of course how to map into particular learning outcome proposed by the MQA under the framework of MQF. So these are the important part of OBE supported by Biggs. So I would like to share on how it was mapped. Yeah, this is a simple explanation whereby you have to develop a course, either on cluster 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but the entire thinking of developing a course is to know what actually that you want your student to gain. At the end of this course, my student able to. Okay, that is always in our mind when we propose or we develop a new or we review a courses. Yeah. So of course, you have placed the entire statement of learning outcome, and if I could remember of everyone here, if we could remember, Allahyarham Tuan Haji Nazri, who has actually give us a lot of knowledge into developing courses, and he has some kind of concepts into developing learning outcome, whereby he actually, if I could remember, he actually proposed when we develop a course, the important of the important criteria when we develop our learning outcome. We should have sort of verb. In this case, you need to explain, for example, in level 1. And we have the context and of course standards. So Tuan Haji has taught us on how to develop a course learning outcome, and of course to gain for the student to gain knowledge and experience after going through the entire semester, student able to put their new experience from learning from us. Yeah? So the course assessment plan actually is a structured template, is a structured way of planning our courses for that entire semester. So they have course learning outcome mapped into assessment and which cluster, and of course we think we will align what kind of delivery or techniques of teaching and learning that's suitable to execute this learning outcome. So of course, we has put it on percentages. If we want that particular CLOs need to be undergoing by the student 10%, 20%, and of course there will be calculation on the time spent or the SLT for each particular CLOs. So if you could remember, we have actually developed a very mouthful of attributes, if you could remember, in our ICGPA rubric guidebook, whereby each of PLOs has the learning attributes, and of course we supported the attributes with a sub attribute, but meaning to say those attribute recommended is just to help the academician into thinking the relevant attribute that can be used for those PLOs. But we can always expand which sub-attributes or attribute that are relevant to those learning outcome. There will be no restriction on that. So if the rubric guide from the ICGPA guidebook has really put a very mouthful of information, and I think it's still relevant until now. In fact, the book that we has developed on the MQF 2.0 guidebook actually refers, we refer to those similar attribute that has been documented in MPF 2.0. So usually, if I advise program owners when they develop a new program, or courses owners who try to build their new courses or to review their courses, I would always advise them to use those books. Meaning to say, we still can use the ICGPA rubric guidebook, and of course, we have also referred to the latest MQF 2.0. And of course, these are the examples on the attributes that suit on different level of our student. So these are the rubrics that support all the attributes. Next, I would like to share on how constructive alignment could be placed in the system. Yeah, of course, we understand the fundamental of what is constructive alignment, but at UMK, we actually have systemized in plotting the CLOs into PLOs. So basically, it's a must. It's a must that every lecturer, when they design their courses, they're able to make a relevant mapping within the CLOs, and which PLOs should align, and which assessment, and of course which teaching the delivery that align to the courses learning outcome. So basically, the importance of understanding constructive alignment as a fundamental basic knowledge is already there. When they plot into when they plot into the PLOs will be given in the system, and they're able to plot in. And of course, within that plotting in the CLO, within the CLO, PLO, and teaching method, we did not forget about assessment. So in the assessment, they could also choose the appropriate and relevant assessment according to the percentage of the importance of each CLOs. Yeah. So the weightage of each CLO are very important. For example, we emphasize on psychomotor. So that psychomotor percentage could be bigger than maybe affective or maybe cognitive domain. Or maybe that particular courses has emphasized on affective domain. So assessment on affective domain could be more than the cognitive and psychomotor domain. So depending on kind of or the niche of each courses are very important. I think courses owners knew what best to put or what's best and relevant for each of their courses and their CLOs. Then within that, we able after we have plot in the assessment, then we're able to put more information as the weekly scheme of work. Yeah, the weekly scheme of work, we're able to explain that particular week, maybe what week for CLO1, it will cover week 1, 2, 3, and so forth. And then goes to the next CLO, maybe affective domain, what are the topics relevant for that particular week. And of course, we would not leave behind the SLP. So these are the important part when we construct our course assessment, our course plan, our CAPA, course assessment plan, so that the constructive alignment would really takes place so that we did not leave anything important behind. So we have the constructive alignment that supported OBE, and what are the important criteria in the constructive alignment that we have to place into the planning. So we have the CLOs, we have the PNOs, what are the assessment which are important, what are the delivery that's suitable, and of course we have to calculate in each and everyone student learning time. So in that case, the constructive alignment work throughout the semester. So meaning to say, it actually a little bit structured, yeah. But we need to plan so that the courses that we deliver are successfully, because we anticipate that at the end of this course, at the end of this program, student should be molded into what we stipulate. And of course, they are an achiever. They are also underachiever. So if we go back at the earlier slides, whereby if I could share again the cyclic process of OBE here, yeah, the cyclic process of OBE, whereby the whole entire OBE has their own phases, but if we extract the number 2, we're able to determine the constructive alignment and kind of assessment and teaching delivery that suits that particular learning outcome. And of course, delivery, assessing the student, and of course the student undergoing the processes, and the result will show later. And of course, we have the student who achieve, and student may be halfly achieved, and there are students who will be considered underachiever. So what's next? So the what's next is to do the intervention. And of course, if we have 40 students, 50 students, or more than that, there are certain categories, certain categories that we able to categorize. We're able to categorize certain level of student. So these are the important part whereby the result will help us into determining to determine the CQI, the the result actually would help us into determining the next course of action on how to improve the courses and how to improve our student. So that is the spirit of OBD. Yeah? So that is the spirit of OBD. Okay, is there any question, Dr. Denis? Any question here? Okay, Denis has asked already. If you have any question, you may post here. So that is the part of constructive alignment, which we have been systemized, and I believe and I trust that almost most universities, we have the system to help our academician into plotting all the PLOs, all the CLOs, all the important assessment, the SLT, and also the teaching delivery. Yeah. So at the end of the semester, we're able to, of course, there are parts where we determine certain CLOs should be assessed as formative, should be assessed as summative, or could be on the continuous assessment. So depending on a kind of CLOs that should be assessed, we're able to place and plot into the system. And of course, these are the important part of the constructive alignment. In our case, we actually has make it the system more friendly by giving the academician to plot kind of continuous assessment which are relevant to the CLOs. Yeah? So this is not a one-night decision, but we look at the pattern of a kind of assessment suitable for different CLOs. So from that pattern, we have categorized, for example, affective domain. What are some relevant tasks that can be used for continuous assessment? And maybe for affective domain, you can use case-based, you can use brainstorming, you can use project-based, you can use forum, and so forth. So when the owners of the courses would think about best type of assessment that suits into that particular domain and that particular learning outcome, they're able to determine the best way of assessing the student. So to make the system friendly, we actually has put up on the system. So the Shara, our academician, should be able to give a tick, able to choose the relevant one. And of course, the assessment and the final part is to assess the student ability under the final assessment. And at the end, we're able to also employ or give the menu for them to choose kind of assessment for their final exam. Well, this is another example whereby we place, even we have come to another extra mile with the circulars given by the JPT. Courses should have programs, and courses should have certain element of future-ready curriculum. So we also have given them the briefing or the exercise on what kind of mode of FRC in your courses. Yeah, does it suitable for you to employ certain FRC like organic or fluid or kind of criteria that's suitable into our own courses. And of course, if we go back into our course, the program learning outcome, there are certain attributes that are suitable under the criteria, under the cluster of keusahawanan or entrepreneur. So each criteria, each what I may say, all important element that should be integrate or infused or immersed in our courses, we have already systemized. For example, under the umbrella of fourth IR. So we may have assessing the student on virtual reality, or maybe student has come will have to come up with gamification maybe, or student have to do 3D printing, for example. So we have already systemized all these important, relevant, what needed to be integrated into our courses and programs. And of course, we are given also the instruction to infuse or to integrate or to embed elements of HIPS. So everyone here, I think, fully understand that there are few elements of HIP that are relevant to our programs or are relevant to our courses. So in our system, we already embed all these important criteria instructed from the GPT and of course from the NQA that making this system friendly. Yeah? So these are the one, and the HIPS and the fourth IR and the keusahawanan, and of course. Apart from this, I am very what I can say. Well, these are the accessories in our designing of our courses or program. My another advice for us as academician, I am what I can say, I would like to advise for us to understand the theory that we have employed as academician. Either we are constructively theorists, or maybe we have adopt behaviorist, or maybe we have adopt humanistic theory in our executing executing our teaching academy. So each and every one of us as educators, we should able to adapt and adopt ourselves into certain theories. As myself, I am very much on constructive theories. Of course, I am very much into brain-based learning theory. So I have proposed a model of kind of theory, method, strategies, and of course, people always ask what are the differences between techniques, strategies, approach, and method. So eventually, after various research, after various reviewed, I have come up with a model on determining different level, different definition of what are the definitions of theory, approaches, methods, strategy, technique. Also, why do I put it as very important? Because when we design our scheme of weekly work, our SOW, we might sometimes maybe we misplaced or misunderstood on what technique to be used on certain activities. Yeah. So of course, this pedagogical hierarchy model that adopted from Burden and Bird recently, and then with expanding of research on this, this is what I have developed. Yeah. So theory, in my case, we have many theory. We have classic theory, we have mid-range theory, we have micro theory. So depending on your own personal experience and your own personal belief, I might say, we are bound to choose whether we are behaviorist theories practitioner, whether we are humanistic theories practitioner, or maybe we are cognitive science theories practitioner. So it's depending on oneself. And of course, apart from theory, there are the differences between approach and method. So this is something that we actually have some doubt. The differences between method and approach that we have to emphasize into when we design our course learning, our course assessment plan. The differences is that we use student-centered learning or teacher-centered learning. If we are behaviorist theories practitioner, we might hold into teacher-centered learning. So there were a lot of activities that will be on rote learning only. Kita suruh pelajar hafal, which is not criteria for OBE. Which is not the criteria of OBE, because OBE is much like helping the student undergo certain experience. So at the end of the journey, they will feel, aha, I got it. Yeah. If we emphasize on rote learning and the behaviorist theory, we are actually not moving into OBE. That is my advice. But if we plan our SOW, scheme of weekly planning, we have emphasized of maybe student has to take the task of case study. Student has to do project. Student has to do forum and so forth. So they are experiencing it and they will be actively involved. And of course, when they actively involved, at the end, their prior knowledge will be increased into a new experience. And of course, the differences between method and approach is whether if we are student-centered learning practitioner, we are actually going into inductive. But if we are putting student on rote learning, we are actually using the approach of deductive. But if we mix up two, inductive and deductive, we are actually on the side of eclectic practitioner. Well, that is the abstract part. And of course, the strategy, we might have group work, we might have pair work, we might have activities outside the classes and so on. Yeah, so that is under the category of strategy. What we use always and what we put into our course assessment plan, so it will match into our assessment design. We might anticipate that CLO are suitable for the student to go into case study. We might anticipate that role play is suitable, or maybe on the side of psychomotor, we might think simulation will be best. So these are the constructive alignment that we need to think what best activities that suit to the assessment and that's able to align to the learning outcome. Yeah. So of course, the next level will be procedure. Is all about how do we plan our learning outcome for the entire semester under our scheme of weekly planning. So having all this, it would enable us to plan a very relevant and a very neat planning in our course assessment plan, so that our basic knowledge or a fundamental knowledge of constructive alignment able to be executed, able to be used by our, able to help our student. So planning a course is not as easy. That is my advice. It's not as easy because we need to be nitty-gritty, we need to be meticulous into connecting what should be done in the classroom. Because the moment of truth is actually when we conduct our classes. And of course, during this MCO, we have come to online learning 3.0. We might have some experience after going through the two previous online learning. But these are the important element when we develop our courses. And of course, these courses are to be contributed to the whole program. And I would just like to share this is the entire of the model. And of course, I would like to share as a educationist, I am a very much of constructivist person, whereby I believe into giving our student the chances to be active, the chances to make themselves immerse, and of course, I would always plan courses whereby the students are not under a stress class. Yeah? I would always draw my courses so that this, as a theorist, as educationist, I'm very much planned. I have planned immensely that all this must take place when we plan our courses. Okay, so these are the important part that I would like to share in the first part of my talk. Yeah, so maybe I would like Dr. Denis, any question here before I move to the next one?
I think there is no question posed, but I can invite anyone to ask, or else I will ask the question.
Okay, so yeah,
Anyone want to ask?
yeah, because my backgrounds as a pedagogical and curriculum development practitioner, and of course, I must share the experience after the entire 36 years in the position, as educators. Something that's lacking in our educators is the fundamental knowledge.
Yes.
We are bound to practice existing technologies, new technologies. But what is the bottom line of our planning in our planning, whereby the pedagogical part, the criteria of OBE, the importance of constructive alignment where we develop our CAP, that should take place so that when we design and we execute our courses, we are confident enough that we're able to touch every single of our students. That's why when we come out with our systems and we come out with our analytics, we are fully confident that when we design the curriculum, when we design our courses, we have actually picked up all these important criteria. Rather than, okay, I just want to use this value. Oh, why? I don't know. I want to use this technique. Why? I don't know. I want to place this assessment. Why? I don't know.
Okay.
So this is something that very important as an educator. Yeah.
Yes.
Any
Prof.
question? Yes.
Yeah, I have a question, Prof. When this OBE being being introduced, we some sort of having that idea that OBE is only focusing on the outcome, but
Yeah.
but actually it is more than that. It's actually the process of education, including the the continuous improvement and then the constructive alignment. Actually, so I think this is the part that we need to need to
Need
to
to dig in
emphasize.
more.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And then
I
this
agree.
part,
Yeah.
and then the constructive alignment, Prof. When I heard this, since I'm actually in the education also, so I know
Yeah.
constructive is actually, but I see that some of our colleagues that they're a bit confused between, I'm doing this already, so why should I thinking of about constructive? So how do we know that we are only doing the alignment and how we are doing more than that, which is constructive alignment? So how we can differentiate that too? So I think I can still do the alignment, but
Yeah.
what is basically meant by
Yeah.
constructive alignment?
Yeah.
That's my question for.
Yeah. I totally agree with you, Dr. Denis. Yeah. Talking about constructive alignment, yeah, is one important part of OBE. Yeah, it's how to execute OBE. There should be a few elements that we need to embrace, that we need to understand, so that OBE takes place. And of course, I agree with you. Well, we already planned the entire process, but do you hold to any principle? What I like to advise here, yeah, as an educators, we need to have a principle in pedagogical knowledge. I know those who are not from education, they might say that, well, you have been trained, you are professionally trained as your background is an education background. But we are in the fraternity of academicians. We are the educators, and we have chosen to be educators. And of course, these are important advice, important element that we have to understand. So if we have this in our back of our mind, we are safe actually. Yeah, we might not do a mistake when we plan and execute our process. So these fundamental issues, this fundamental knowledge should be adopted by our academics. That is my advice. Yeah. Sometimes when I evaluate or assess new process, or even program evaluators or assessors, there are gaps in the program. There are gaps in those courses. Why? Because when we design those courses, we do not. We might. Yeah, I might say we might. We might not come through all this knowledge. Yeah, we might bypass this knowledge, or maybe we were not exposed with this knowledge. No, so my advice as an educators, and we plan to be in this surroundings, this environment as an educators, make more effort, make more exercise into getting the underpinning of pedagogical knowledge. Yeah, that is my
Prof.
advice. Yes.
Yes, Prof. I think there's one person who raised her hands, Rahida.
Okay, Rahida.
Rahida, you may ask a question if you want
Yes.
to ask.
Okay.
Yeah,
Please, Prof.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Assalamualaikum, Prof.
Salam, Prof.
And salam sejahtera to everyone. Okay, Prof, just now I look into your slide about the abstract and construct.
Yeah.
And there's under that construct, that the technique, I just want to ask through your experience, Prof, because that you are more exposed in the on this strategy, techniques, and procedure, right? For example, if I'm giving as an assessment to my student, that is a case study, but they have to demonstrate the case study as a role play to solve the questions in the case study. So that will be my techniques, right? But for when we are in the face-to-face class, we do it in the class. But now since that we are online, and what the student need to do is that they need to form a meeting. They organize the meeting, and they have a role. Each person has a role to solve that question in the case study. So that is the techniques, lah. But my assessment, I just based on a recorded, I would say recorded, because they record the meeting, and I just assess through my observation, and that's where I give the marks. But when we have face-to-face class, I do interrupt during their meeting, because I interrupt to question, or I mean that's the way that how that sometimes they change their role play, because they already prepared the answer. But when we interrupt during the meeting, we give questions. Yeah. So the momentum changed. So I can see the different reaction, But now it's like I don't feel that. I don't know what I wanted to say is that which is better, whether I should have a live recorded, a live meeting, or a recorded meeting is the best assessment to assess my student. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my
Prof.
question.
Okay. Okay, Prof. Rahida, I totally agree with you. Yeah. And my entire career, the last 3 years, the last years was the very critical years. I started my career in 1984. Maybe some of you has not born yet. Yeah. The final year of my career was
Saya baru 11 tahun, Prof.
very challenging, and I totally agree with Rahida. But actually, every one of us are struggling into this what we so call the new norm. Yeah. But I think facing into the 3.0 online learning, we are now adopting on how to so-called monitor our student performance. Yeah. But if you have planned well, as I said, this learning outcome is suitable with certain techniques. Of course, there are student-centered learning, which are inductive, meaning they have to experience it. They have to be actively involved. And of how do you actually control their involvement if you have given them the procedure earlier, right? So for example, we are using what Kagan has proposed, like round robin. So you have actually a procedure for the group to work. Yeah, for each group contain of 4 students. So each of you has your certain task to do. So your reporting will be based on your tasks given, right? So student has to do reflection. So when I carry out this task, I am the head of the group. Or maybe I am the second person of the group, or maybe I'm the one who take this task. I'm the one who read the literature. I'm the one who give the ideas and so forth. So when you, of course, there are some extra work for us to determine that each and every single of our students has carried out the task properly. Of course, in online, we are not able to see the whole picture, what's going on behind us, but your procedure that you have proposed earlier, or the procedure that you have given earlier, would be the guideline for the student to work on. Okay, Prof. Raida? So of course, it's not easy for us to do all this manual, but my entire of my career, when following all this procedure, I'm able to so-called getting the involvement of students. And of course, even in online learning, rider are more obvious. Rider are more obvious. We know if they are on face-to-face, we are able who does the work, who did not do the work. We can see when they do the presentation, maybe, or maybe when they do the discussion, we're able to detect who are the champions in the group, who are the lazy one in the group. So meaning to say, these are the few characteristics of behavior that we're able to detect along the semester. And when the results come up, so we can see those above the achievement, or those who are really achieved, we can align that, oh, these are the one who contributed a lot during the discussion, during the work, group work. But those who are underachieved, when the result comes, we're able to find out the underachiever. Then we reflect back, oh, these are the one who did not contribute much during the past event. So we have to change, actually, Prof. Raida, we have to change the way we monitor, what we call monitoring the student. As I put earlier in my slide, the monitoring and evaluation of the student is actually should transfer now. We might have given them the task, but the manual that we attach to the task, the attachment that the manual that attached to their task should be put in properly, or we have to put it properly, and we have to spell out one by one, so that every single of our student, when they carry out the task, they're able to know what to do and how to do, and that will reduce our stress in ensuring whether the student really do the work or not. Yeah, I hope it helps my answer, your question. Okay.
Thank you, Prof.
Okay. Before we any more question before I move to another slot? Okay.
Prof. Suria.
Yes, Prof.
Suria.
Yeah,
Hey, Prof. Suria. Hey, terima kasih.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, very well presented, and I think everybody can follow concerning the importance of the constructive alignment.
Thank you.
And as you put it, the moment of truth is when we are practicing it. So every one of us face different kind of challenges and different kind of barriers, and we overcame it in those moments of truth. My question here is, my question here is concerning, how flexible should actually educators be? With all this disruption that has taken place last year, and for tomorrow and the future, there will be, of course, further disruption. We know that, for example, if students are on campus with the connectivity and the bandwidth, there's no issue. Of course, I'm talking about, in UMS, in Sabah, we do have this real problem, okay?
Yeah.
So when students are in the remote condition, and especially
Yeah.
when they are doing group work. So
Mhm.
they are dependent upon one another that they
Yes.
play their role and achieve it. But let's say a few members within the group have this limitation of connectivity and bandwidth and devices.
Yes.
It disrupt even the group work. How flexible should we educators be? There is segi empathy, there is segi the way we assess them. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I totally agree with you, Prof. Thank you for your kind words. I know you are so empathetic with what's happening surrounding us, right? Thank you, Prof, for raising this issue. I think it's happening everywhere, even here or anywhere, there are hindrances that we need to anticipate. Yeah, even more in Sabah and Sarawak, they are bound to have numbers who are very remote. Yeah, but okay, as I said earlier, when you plan well your courses, I think you might reduce some of these obstacles. Students are very clear in the first place when you attach to the student on the very early semester, you have given them all the procedures that they need to follow. Yeah, students just need students just need the procedure, just need the manual. Students just need information before we go through the whole entire semester perform. If our manual, if our document and our material that we shared with them are very clear, I think there is not much a problem, because anyhow, even though they are on top of the hill or wherever they are, or whether they are very, very remote, they still make time, or they still make an effort to get all those information so that they're able to follow. In the case of the remote student or the less accessibility of internet that we also discovered when we did our survey last year, we have thousands and thousands of students who are low bandwidth, and even we don't have bandwidth. That was the critical time that we have to change into giving them thumb drive, post them the material and so forth, because it was third week, right, for us. So that was a little bit chaotic. But in my advice, if you have planned your work and you shared all these important information beforehand, before our semesters or our classes started, I think we able to reduce all these obstacles performed. Yeah, that's why when I shared the pedagogical model just now, it's about letting each and every one of us as educators what need to be done, rather than we understand, okay, this is my course access plan, this is my constructive alignment, I put the activities, I put all the weightages, weightage of each task of each domain, my work done. I just want to advise being an educators, we need to live with it. Yeah, we must have some soul that actually we are building a nation, we are building people. Yeah, if we have those spirit, and we understand how to regulate those things, because the knowledge on giving in having to deliver the knowledge, we ourselves has to experience, we ourselves has to plan the technical part of delivery. Yeah, rather than, well, my job done, I've done my cost assessment, I've done my cost plan, done, I've given the weightage, done. That is not actually we supposed to do. We have to go beyond. That's why when my earlier part of slides, I put up what is the OBE. Then I put up what is the cyclic of OBE. Then underneath that, the OBE spirit is more towards having each and every single student performance. That is the spirit of OBE actually, because we have already pledged, we have already agreed that OBE is the design. So what is in the OBE? OBE is letting our student, letting the end user into experiencing the whole process of what we have planned. Yeah, it's not just giving a block, done. You should able to do that. Yeah, I think many of you, many of us here, we have undergone those period during our vasties years, during our study years. Yeah, every year. We have different experience. Yeah, we have different experience. I, of course, during my early 80s, I experienced those professors, renowned professors. They just come in 1 hour, 2 hours, and they just give talk. You are bound to pick up wherever you can listen, wherever you are unable to listen. And it's also an experience, because if you are not well prepared, you might just lose it, right? Okay.
Yes.
But if you are giving whole attention, you're able to pick up the spirit of these professors. But today, I found out with the OBE that being adopted by our higher education since 2007, when we started that, it seems that we are fully engaged with our students. The fully engaged is very important, the message whereby how to fully engage our students in their learning. We simply said, oh, they must be active. We simply said that they should be immersive. Let's define all those terminology. Active learning, experiential learning, all those bombastic words. I sometimes I feel I just don't want to listen.
Too much.
Yeah. But you did not feel the spirits of those terminology.
Yes.
Yeah.
The fundamental ideas.
Yeah. So my advice to those young, go and do more homework. And the first part of my talk is more about giving the fundamental ideas.
Okay,
We are so engrossed. We are so engrossed into what are the new MQF 2.0. What are the attributes? How to do it? You know, yeah, I know that there is some sort like push for us, because we need to finish the curricular review. We need to do the new program. We need to put this and that. Well, that is the spirit, Dr. Denis. Okay, let me share the next part. I know.
Yes, please.
Dr. Denis, anything?
Yes, please. Oh, we can proceed. I think there's no more raising
Question.
hands. Yeah.
Okay. What may I ask? What did you all understand with MQF 2.0? Before I proceed, what do you all understand with that? Can Denis answer me?
Oh, goodness. I don't know. Maybe, probably, I think MQF 2.0 is simplification from the MQF 01. Yeah, the first one. And then,
okay.
And then the learning domain is becoming more specific, which is
Yes.
I think should be like that, because we will be able to pinpoint what kind of learning that the students should achieve.
Yeah.
So we make the learning domain more a little bit complex, but detailed, but we simplify some of the things that may be confusing. I think like that.
I'm not interviewing you actually. I'm not asking for yes or no, but you are giving sort of good answers, yeah? So this is something that bothering us. So of course, our sharing is more like to give some answers, but not the entire answers. But it's OBE, and of course, need to have some support of framework. So we do not call it as syllabus, but yeah, we call it as framework. Yeah. So framework means, yeah, I would like to share. Yeah. Why cannot I share? Ja. Kejap. Now, can you listen to me? You know? Slide yang ni. Okay. Second slide. Okay. All right. So framework. Why does like Finland? Why did Finland does not have so-called like syllabus in the country, in their education system? Because they follow the psychologist's suggestion that within the cohort of our years, we have different achievements. If I could pull back your understanding, the growth of human being, is that we are living at 0 to 6, kemudian 6 to 12, then up to elderly. So each cohort of us, we progress according to our natural being. Yeah. Bukan ini. Okay. Jadi, so the framework is important because it actually gives us a guideline. It gives us a guideline so that this guideline will be used to put our courses, to put our work into a better position, you know. So that's what we call as framework. Yeah, that's what we call as framework. Before I proceed, okay, I share. Can you see? Okay. All right.
So we have the template, isn't it, Prof?
Pardon me?
The framework is like having a template, but it's up to us what kind of recipe we put in.
Yeah, yeah, you are right. What are the recipes that will be tasteful into what we are sharing with our students? You are right. You know, so framework is just like a guide. Within the guide, we're able to execute. Okay, so everyone knows about MQF being proposed by the MQA of the second edition, as I mentioned earlier, in 2007, after the bill passed at the cabinet, so that we change our curriculum at higher education from output. There are many types of learning outcomes. But the bill has passed in the cabinet that we must use learning it's not OBE, they said learning outcomes, but we adopted OBE as our curriculum design. So of course, there was a big changes, and there are a bit of pandemic between that period, that why must we change, and we have already graduated the student for many years, and why should we change? There are a lot of pandemic during those years, but eventually after many years, today I think OBE is actually is our routine in our work. Okay, so after being carried out for several years, about 10 years, more than 10 years, with the current changes, with the current environment, and of course to adapt with the millennials, and to adapt our new generation, and suddenly we were forced into full online of the MCO. It was actually timely. We never thought about putting digital clusters during 2017 into our framework.
Yes.
But
Yep.
eventually that clusters was very important now on how we put into the framework. If you could reflect, or if you could rewind yourself into looking of our higher education framework, we have 9. Then some of us has transported ourselves into MQF 1.0, we have 8. There was a little bit of tug of war. I want to use HE, I want to use MQA, both we allow. Eventually, MQA actually is quite flexible, whether we want to use a HE framework, we want to use MQA framework, that period of time. I think the tug war was within when we come into 2015 when we implement the ICGPA. So MQA give time for us to adapt. But after certain years, we found that the first framework was a little bit outdated, and of course they did not do it as purposely. But they did not. They have their justification why it was changed into MQF 2.0 with 2 new learning outcomes.
Factor.
Yeah. So actually in page 13, 14, 15, 16, from item 44 until 60, those 5 clusters with the 11 PLOs has been spelled out very clearly. Very, very clearly. In fact, the book that we has come out, actually it was all translated or transported from this document. Okay? It was from page 13, 14, 15, 16, item 44 into 60. The team has come out with more explanation in it, but it was all bound to this framework. Okay, so it was that, and of course I've explained earlier. And learning outcome, actually, as I've addressed earlier, MQF actually is a set of generic learning outcome. Yeah, and it's relevant according to level of education. Yeah, we have level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is what we are doing now, 7 and 8. Yeah, so it actually is a generic skills. Yeah, apart from the domain of cognitive and psychomotor, the rest are more like generic skills. And of course, another 10 years, Dr. Denis, you are still in your career. There might be changes. I'm not sure what, but you think about it later on. Maybe you can propose. Maybe these are so outdated. Maybe, yeah. Previously, we have values, attitude, and professional.
Yes.
So we don't have that more. Those years we have solely on communication, the 3 of that PLO5, yeah, CLT, communication, leadership, and teamwork.
Yes.
But why this time teamwork has been dropped? I mean, I ask you all, why is teamwork in PLO5 and PF 1.0 has been dropped? Do you know what's the answer?
I'm not sure.
Not sure. Maybe there are some reason, because everything is more like the work has to be carried out collaboratively or has to be done cooperatively.
Yeah, I
So
think
in
it is there.
it has been implicitly written. So those years explicitly written, you must emphasize on teamwork. Kalau tak ada dalam PLO program you tak ada teamwork, why they will ask, why tak ada teamwork ni? So your program owner or your evaluator will ask so much question, why there is no teamwork? And of course, UMS is university which are different from UMK. We are always being asked about entrepreneurship. Even when we present, why you are talking that this program have entrepreneurship niche? Why your entrepreneurship is so low? The percentage of entrepreneurship skill are so low. So you have to go back and redo and try to develop new courses. We are very much into entrepreneurship, for example. Why entrepreneurship are very much important now, maybe. There are reasons, yeah? There are reasons. And of course, the MQF 1.0, the MQF 1.0, PLO 8, now PLO 10, we have different sets of attributes. Yeah, when we develop the book, when we write the book, it was not just like taking here and there, but we do a simple, we carry out FGD, focus group discussion with entrepreneurship team. So there are FGD, the FGD actually help us to pick up what attribute best at this current moment. There are few attributes that has been improved. There are attributes that we have put out, and there are a few attributes of entrepreneurship that we have added on. So then, numeracy. Our student has not enough experience during their school years, 11 years, to do on numeracy. That's another question. Dr. Denis, why we must teach them numeracy?
It's not about counting. I think it's related to the IR 4.0, the Industrial Revolution. So this one is affecting. I know the one of it is, of course, the digital skill, and then also the numeracy, the data science. So that one should everyone have to be, the consumer of data.
Okay, so that's your answer. Okay, every people have their own thinking, and of course, there is no wrong and right answers. But why is MQF 2.0 they emphasize on numeracy? So that goes along also into digital skills. Of course, it's so relevant. We are facing this fourth IR and the millennials. These are the important attribute that should be cultivated to our students. And of course, the generic skills cannot leave behind the ethics. We need to emphasize on our JERI, falsafah pendidikan kebangsaan, mengupayakan pelajar untuk berkemampuan dari sudut jasmani, emosi, intellectual, rohani dan spiritual. So that part is actually, even though it's a generic skill, but it is an important skill to develop our national ummah, national building, for nation building. What about why we need to have 2 PLO on cognitive? Anyone would like to answer or not?
Yeah.
Why PLO 1 is so low level and the PLO 2, the entire of cognitive domain? They must have reason. Yeah, they must have reason maybe. Okay, then other than that, other than all this cognitive, they have psychomotor, and other than that, they have we have a set of generic learning outcome. For example, we need to emphasize on interpersonal. Why we have to teach interpersonal to our students? Could it be by natural you are interpersonal skill? Why we should train people to embrace, to reach into interpersonal skill? Is our nation lack of interpersonal skill? We have to sort of we cannot avoid from planting into interpersonal skills in our curriculum. Yeah. So they have reason at certain point why these general skills are more important under the affective domain compared to the cognitive and psychomotor. I will show the clusters after this. So of course, 2007, MQF has outlined 8 domains of learning outcome that has been clustered, profile and retain into 5 clusters learning outcome into MQF 2.0 edition 2017. As a general practice, individual programs should address all domains of the clusters of learning outcomes appropriately. So this is the advice of MQA, that each program owners independently or freely project, what's best to be implement in their program. But they should address all domain of the clusters. So that's the advice. Yeah? So of course, some universities, they still sit on the 5 cluster. They still sit on the 5 cluster, but the diversion of clusters depending on their the importance of the program. Yeah. All right. Is my PowerPoint clear?
Prof, could you please make it a show, a PowerPoint show?
PowerPoint show.
Slideshow, sorry.
Slideshow. Oh, is it small? So?
Yeah.
Wait, okay, sorry. Thank you.
I'm getting older as well.
All right. Is it clear enough?
Yes, yes.
All right.
Much better, Prof.
So it's just another repeating that during our earlier years, we adopt the higher education, and then we put into place after 2015 that most of the program owners actually adopted MPA advice to use MPF 1.0. Now slowly we are transiting ourselves into MPF 2.0. There are instruction or circular given by the KPT that by 2020, mostly new program should on board with MPA 2.0. Yeah, so we struggle on that, right? Everyone struggle on that. We have a limited limited information, but of course we try to seek here and there to get more information about what is all about these clusters. Yeah, so everyone able to okay, I will answer Kaylee later. Okay, all right.
Yes.
Everyone knew about the 5 clusters. Yeah, the knowledge and understanding. The first cluster is cognitive skills. Second cluster, functional skills. We have 6 sub-cluster in that. Personal and entrepreneurial skill. The 4th cluster, and the last cluster is ethics and professional. Okay, all right. Why the clusters? There are 6 sub-clusters on functional skills. Which combine with a practical skill. There are reasons under that. Yeah. So the next thing is the clusters of or mapping of learning outcome. Mapping of learning outcome into learning learning LO cluster, LOC into learning outcome domain and dominant learning domain. Quite a number have asked about how can we first can we stick to 9? We try to combine 9 and 10 together maybe. Why must level 7 and 8 must use PLO1? It's so low level. I will explain later. Then the personal and ethics and professional will stay alone there. So dominant learning domain could or be advised to be expanded to other learning domain depending on the discipline of study. Yeah, this has been asked many times. Yeah, can we stick to certain dominant learning only? But it's depend on the nature and criteria of each discipline. Yeah, one. Number 2, it has been clustered the LOC into LOD and what are the dominant learning domain. For example, here, for example, like digital skills. Why we employ digital skill to have cognitive, psychomotor, and affective? Can digital be very psychomotor for a program like ICT? Or can numeracy skill be only cognitive? There is all this triggering us on understanding the dominant learning domain. Yeah, but the MQA has proposed. It said that dominant learning domain may be expanded to other learning domain depending on the discipline of study. I was also being asked like numeracy skills. Yeah, numeracy skills were very much connected to cognitive, but I was asked a program owner from Heritage program owner. I cannot the program owner spell out. We cannot see how this numeracy can take place in our program. Yeah, but my answer is very simple. How do you know? How do you know that certain artifacts, when this artifact was found out, or what period or what cohort of years this artifact was built, for example. So it seems that the numeracy skill that placed under dominant learning domain seems not to be under cognitive, but it could be for certain discipline, it could be placed under affective. They has the aspiration of the artifacts of certain civilization, for example. They embrace, they put the importance of heritage spirits on these artifacts maybe. So the calculation might not be on statistical, but maybe on the appreciation. They found that these artifacts actually mirror the civilization of a society. So that will come under appreciation. Yeah. There are few learning LOD which have being debated. Example like numeracy skills, the digital skills, and of course PLO1 and PLO2. So these are some question raised. Are we allowed to place this LOD into not cognitive maybe, or into not psychomotor maybe? It's back depending on the discipline of study. Digital skills for social science maybe could be very effective. The appreciation of global collaboration maybe under mata pelajaran umum. It could not be cognitive or psychomotor, but digital skills may be on affective domain. So the program owner and the course developer need to really understand the spirit of each domain that they are going to emphasize on. So that was taken from the document of MQF 2.0 by MQA. Again, I like to place into ICGPA, which has proposed various and rigorous LOD and attribute and subject. Why I emphasize again, because almost part of this book or MQF 2.0 actually has taken a lot from this rubric guideline. So this book are still relevant for us to refer to, because there are rigorous information that has been stated in this previous book. Of course, if I go through the earlier slide from page 13, 14, 15, 16 of MQA 2017, MQF 2.0, cluster 1 is knowledge and understanding. What are the descriptors in that? What are the descriptions and descriptor of knowledge and understanding? So we pull all the information based from the recommendation and proposed by MQF to second edition 2017. Knowledge and understanding describe advanced and comprehensive theoretical and technical knowledge and demonstrate relevant skills in a specialized field or of a multidisciplinary nature related to the field of study or work or an end practice. So this is the original descriptor proposed by MQF second edition 2017. And what are the description? The descriptions are, knowledge refers to systematic comprehension of theories, as I've read earlier. And these clusters actually able the learners to relate their prior knowledge. They're able to construct new knowledge, as well to expand their new knowledge into a better perspective. So that's the underpinning reason why these clusters has been placed as PLO1. Yeah. Even though according to Bloom, if we refer to Bloom, C1, C2 will be the knowledge and understanding, C1, C2 as LOT, lower order thinking. But program owner has the option to use higher cognitive level from C3 until C6. But they should be able to differentiate the clusters between 1 and cluster 2. Okay, these are the most question asked, by our colleagues, that if we are developing level 7 and level 8, do you think it's still necessary to use cluster 1 or not, Dr. Denis? What do you think? Do we need to use level 1 in level, do we need to use cluster 1 in level 7 and 8? Or anyone there, if you would like to answer? Do we need still to need that level cluster 1?
You mean the cluster 1 in Bloom's taxonomy?
Yeah. Level 7, masters and PhD.
I see. Okay.
Do you think we need this cluster 1 in level 7 and level 8?
We need, because the theoretically to achieve the higher order thinking, we still need the lower level. So in build up the to build up the cognitive skill, I mean the ability. So we need the basic knowledge.
That's it. I truly agree with you, Juan. Anyone else would like to share your understanding or your thoughts before I move to?
Tak perlu.
Okay.
Tak perlu.
Yeah. Tak perlu. Okay.
Yeah, because according to the explanation given by Dr. Denis, so there is the assumption that to achieve C7, you already have gone through C1, C2, and so on.
You actually, when you are at master's level, you already capture all C1, C2, right? Okay, that part. Okay, I still want more answers. Thank you, Prof. Okay, right. When is the first time you learn about qualitative study? When is the first time? During your undergrad? You understand about qualitative study, all the terms of the terminology, all the new phrases. Is it during your undergrad?
No, don't think so.
No. Yeah. Basically, we likely to get all those new knowledge when we enter our level 7. Yeah.
Yes.
There are few new terminology that we capture during our level 7. Yeah. And that will be very basic for us, right? For example, when is the first time you know about SAM? When is the first time you know about PLS? Yeah.
Yes.
When is the first time you know how to analyze data using software? Maybe.
In the paradigm.
Okay. So At the level of C1, the LOT of for the level 7 MPA and level 8 for MPA for postgrad actually does not need to be that level, to be not like the undergrad, but maybe PLO being used as like simple question listing, explain in a short essay and so forth to make the student capture all the new words, terminology used in maybe methodology, but not on content knowledge. Because content knowledge may be we have adopt during our undergrad, yeah, fundamental knowledge, content knowledge, but like methodology, which is very new to postgrad student, they need to have certain low level of question. For example, maybe during short essays, maybe short during the midterm, they have when they enter the short courses, maybe there are few discussion, or maybe they could have certain quizzes on terminologies and so on. So
even the literature.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
literature
Yeah.
review. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So to capture all those new terminology, you need to have that level of C1, C2, so that you could capture the understanding and gain new knowledge. As what we know that learning outcome is a general skills that actually capture prior knowledge, but we improve with the new experience and new knowledge. Yeah. Okay, so of course, for the level 6, C1, C2 usually placed into the semester 1, semester 2 of the very early of their study. At the end of their pengajian or their study, we might reduce the C1, C2, and we might place the middle order thinking mode or a hot higher order thinking in our courses or in our program. So we have the mapping of all that. Yeah. So according to certain scholars like Bloom, cognitive taxonomy actually emphasize on remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. That is very common to us. Yeah. Whereas Gedney has actually include a verbal information domain that involve the ability to state or decide something, which also comprehend what you understand. Yeah. That lead into intellectual skill. Whereas WEBT, another taxonomy for cognitive, introduces the depth of knowledge or DOK that actually categorize this cluster as recall and reproduce at level 1. For level 2, WEB have emphasized on skills and concepts, and DOK level 3, WEB have emphasized on strategic thinking, and at the highest level, WEB has emphasized on extended thinking. These are few scholars that we have referred to explain the differences between definition or category of knowledge and understanding. So all the above taxonomies, there are many more actually, conceptualize different perspectives pertaining to knowledge and understanding. So each and every scholars has their own definition of knowledge and understanding. So it depends on your own area of study when you develop your program and your courses, whether knowledge and understanding are being emphasized in your program. That should be catered for the student when they develop courses. Yeah, when we develop courses. Okay, I've explained the descriptor which we have taken up from the MQF second edition. So these are few recommended attributes, okay? Knowledge, understanding. So there are some attributes between knowledge and understanding, but it is not bound here because within our discipline, we might define knowledge with other attributes. There will be no restriction on it. So maybe under knowledge, we could expand to other attributes depending on the nature of your discipline. And of course, understanding has, we have recommended a few attributes under the cluster of understanding. For example, we're able to interpret, exemplify, classify, and so forth. So these are recommended attributes, but nevertheless, your own nature of discipline maybe has captured other attributes under this cluster. All right. So when we draw our courses learning outcome, we're able to pick up which suitable attributes that can be used in a cluster 1 and so forth. Okay, I've read the description before. Yeah. Alright, sorry. Under description of MQF 2.0, cognitive skills involve thinking or intellectual capabilities and the ability to apply knowledge and skill. Involve thinking capabilities or involve intellectual capabilities and able to apply knowledge and skill. The capacity to develop level of intellectual skills progressively begins from understanding, critical or creative thinking, assessment and analyzing, problem solving, as well as synthesizing to create new ideas, solution strategies, or new practice and so forth. So these skills enable learners to search and comprehend new information from various fields of knowledge and practices. Meaning to say, when we emphasize on this, it was not actually stopped at that point. Every single us as human being, we have actually prior knowledge on certain issues or certain element. But that prior knowledge could be expanded with the new experience. You know, so the prior knowledge has been constructed into new knowledge from the new experience we have undergone. Okay? So this is important part of under cognitive skills. Okay, the descriptor for cognitive actually it's defined the both brain that we have, either the left or the right brain. Yeah. MQA 2017 has given the statement such as cognitive skills demonstrate intellectual independence in the application of knowledge within specific fields or field by applying critical, analytical, and evaluation skills in the field of study or work or practices. With this cognitive skill, we manage to resolve complex application and handle unpredictable issues with creative and innovative solution. With these cognitive skills, we're able to apply skill knowledge to a range of approaches in the field of study or work or practices. So there are very distinctive definitions between CO1 or with PLO1, cluster 1, C1, C2 with the mode and the hot, middle order thinking and higher order thinking. So you see the demarcation between low order thinking within mode and hot. The second level or the cluster 2 actually is more rigorous, more aggressive, meaning to say you use knowledge to create new thinking, to be applied for new skills, to be able to solve problem, to get a new thinking and many more. It's more like solving problem. It's more like innovative thinking and so forth. Yeah. So it used the higher order thinking in order to create a new thinking, in order to to evaluate a certain solution in order to solve few elements and so forth. So this is what recommended by MPA 2.17. So some of the attributes recommended, some of the attributes recommended by the book, under the attributes of PLO, this cluster 2, there are problem solving and scientific skills, and this is not bound here. Discipline owner, program owners under certain discipline, they might have certain other attributes that would suit into cluster 2. So it might not be what we have suggested, but you may come up with your own attributes that relevant to the discipline. Of course, the cluster 3, which is FWS, functional work skill, they have regrouped, retained the MPF 1.0, but have been regrouped, and they have 6 sub-clusters under this. So of course, the PLO3, practical work skills, and with 5 other generic skills, which is interpersonal skill, communication skill, which is PLO5, digital skill will be PLO6, followed by numerous skills, which is a new skills, which is a new PLO, which is PLO7, and leadership, autonomy, and responsibility as the subcluster 6, PLO8. Every subcluster has their own attributes, has their own descriptions, definition, and descriptor. And underpinning that, they could have certain attributes that can be used when they plan or they draw their course learning outcome. Taking from MPF 2017, practical work skill has been defined as work skill, operational skills that applicable in common employment environments such as planning, organizing, using tools, technology, procedures, which is in contact, and of course, undertaking procedures, research, and so forth. So basically, it's kinesthetic skills, kinesthetic skills, psychomotor, and by other, apart from that, practical work skill also includes a specialized skills, a set of skill in certain professional bodies, like, for example, architecture. So they have certain practical skill that students should acquire, certain practical skill that students should be cultivated, or under engineering, under nursing, under medical. There are certain skill sets under practical work skill should be acquired by students throughout their journey of their study. The next one, the descriptor, which has been taken from, basically, the whole descriptor has been taken from the book, from the 2.0, apply a range of essential method and procedure to solve a broad range of problems, be able to review, make adjustments, supervise related practices and processes concerning field of specialization. So these are the sort of the descriptor of practical work skill. And the next subcluster is interpersonal skill, basically from the book MPF 2017 has emphasized that IS refer to range of skill which includes interactive communication, relationship, and collaborative skills, whereby they're able to manage a relationship. This is actually very general skills. We're able to emphasize of interpersonal skills so that students are taught, not by default. Students are taught to improve their interpersonal skills. They have reason why they insert, where they put interpersonal skills as important skills in MPF 2.0. Whether they work in teams, whether they work in pairs, whether they work in organization, they're able to apply this interpersonal skill when they network, when they work with other people, different culture, different diverse group, and of course, they should within the framework of their study, these skills were able to ensure student able to capture these skill sets and etiquettes. Yeah. So meaning to say, we need to plan for the student in order for them to improve their personal skills, interpersonal skills. Yeah? The next skill that they describe, which is taken from the book, work together with different people in their module, I have explained earlier. So these are all the descriptors and description according to MQF 2.0 by MQA 2017, which we have taken from the page 13, 14, 15, and 16. The next skills, students are also have to learn communication skills, not by default, but by planning. So this can be done maybe through their pair work, maybe from their group work, maybe from their communication presentation in the class or on their webinar and so forth. And these apply, the descriptions of communication skill apply that it refers the ability to communicate, able to convey, able to address information, able to deliver their ideas, able to give reports, yeah, in an appropriate language. So we need to teach our students to communicate,
Yes.
actually, yeah, and
Especially
of
in
course,
work environment.
yeah. Yeah, the communication skill does not bound only on oral, but communication skills have also skill sets on verbal, on non-communication, non-verbal communication such as body gesture, facial expression, body languages, and so forth. So it seems that we need to teach our student on communication, both verbal and non-verbal. Yeah, very sad, huh? Right. Of course, taken from the MPF 2.0 book, convey ideas both in written or oral form using appropriate and different forms of presentation with confidently, accurately, coherently in appropriate context in a well-structured manner to a diversity of audiences. I think this has much been done when student does their presentation. Maybe during a physical meeting, when they present in front of the class, we can see the whole performance. We can see their verbal and non-verbal. We can see how they deliver, and orally we can able to see how they exercise their communication. But I think many of us here also facing the same problem. When we started our class, yeah, everyone unmute or muted their faces and muted and keep the video cross, so we cannot see them. So how do we go about this when there is a communication program? This is program for student communication, MESCOM, for example, but we cannot see the student. Student doesn't want to show out. Student don't want to put their face on the webinar and so forth. They unmuted. They stop the video showing. So, what are the steps taken to ensure this communication skill can be cultivated? Yeah. So the next thing, digital skills. This is a very new. Since it was one important cluster, subcluster under cluster 3, digital skills has been described by UNESCO and by MQF itself as the ability to use information digital technologies to support work and studies. The skills include sourcing and storing information, processing data, and so forth, as well taking care the ethics in applying digital skills. So now kita nampak
The effective there.
yeah, in a virtual meeting, there are a lot of positiveness, and there are also the other side of it, the negative of it. And of course, applying ethics in digital skills are very important.
Yes.
Yeah, you see now, their fight the netizen fights of their own celebrity, for example. They can bash, they can say out loud whether they like it, they dislike, or they like it. So, well, at certain point, they can go beyond normal ethics, and it comes towards they could be penalty or could be punished for not being ethical on the virtual meeting.
Yes.
So this need to be taught.
Yes.
Yeah, not only for digital technologies or ICT program student, but it should be across all programs. How to practice ethical values using digital skills. Yeah, so it need to be cultured. Yeah, and from UNESCO 2018. We have found out that digital literacy is the ability to access, manage, understand, integrate, communicate, evaluate, create information safely and appropriately through digital devices and network technologies. And it includes competencies that are viruses referred to as computer literacy. They have widened up. UNESCO has widened up the definition. The ICT literacy, the information literacy, and media literacy. Yeah, media literacy is very important.
Yep.
Whereby without this literacy, without media literacy, whether hardware or software, of course now more on software, media literacy in any form, social media, okay, formal communication and so forth. Media literacy are very much important, and I think for me, my own opinion, it should be start as early as young student, as early as young kids in kindergarten or even in school primary level. Yeah. So digital skills that emphasize on media literacy, not only for students, kids, but also for elderly. Yeah, especially those elderly who are hooked into social media. Yeah, they are too hooked, and sometimes they forgot that certain issues should not be viral, or maybe they need to have this media literacy to be learned. Okay, descriptor, as what being suggested by MPF 2.0, is a use and broad range of information media technology application to support study and work. So there are 6 sub digital skill attributes like information literacy, digital skill, digital communication skills, and then under digital design, there are some operation definition, graphic design, digital designer skill set, application. Under social media skills, should be able to organize, to be creative as a content curators, writing in social media. Now, when students write an essay, they used to use social media terminologies. Sometimes we ourselves as elderly could not capture what actually they are writing on, So they write social media phrases, which sometimes
The acronyms.
yeah. So the aptitude, the learn where audience is migrating to and when the right time to switch social media platform. Yeah. As I said earlier, I'm too new to use WebEx, for example, but I have to learn, because it is common platform. Now people are moving into another platform or social media, which improve day by day, because that is the common consumerism offering. Those social media developer keep on innovating new types of assortment tools and so forth. And of course, social media skills is also a community management, whereby we use a lot of social media to interact especially in our delivery. We might not use our formal platform, but we can reach our students through certain social media apps, like WhatsApp, like Signal, Telegrams, and so forth, or Facebook, Instagram, and so forth. But we need to use it ethically. We need to teach our students that social media skills need to be taught. It's not by default.
Yes.
Right. Another skill under cluster functional skill under digital is how do we teach the student to use devices and apps. So this is apps moment. People doesn't use CD anymore. People doesn't use
Diskette.
diskette anymore. People does not use apa tu yang masuk tu
Floppy disk.
floppy disk no more. External but we have gone into that level. Can we anticipate what's the next kind of apps after this? But with this coming in of fourth IR, a lot of technology, analytics, machine learning, when machines is learning, so the new devices will arise, will emerge. So the next under the digital skills is how to collaborate, not locally, in your community, in our community, but also in the globally. So how do we use technology wisely to collaborate, to network, and broader participants? So this is very important. I came to know a friend, a friend daughter, who able to speak Korea, who able to speak Korean language just by watching Korean drama.
K-pop.
And they became a Korean speaker, but not native. It's not native, but they can really speak well because they bound to use it. So the connectivity globally using Korean language as what we use English language, is going on now. So they create their Korean language group throughout the world. So this is something that we have to foresee about the new generation. They might come to one end that they use only signals, maybe they use only symbols, as what like zaman Yunani, zaman Greek, use symbols,
we are there already, emojis.
So emojis, you are right, emojis. What's next? Emojis. They could create meetings, chat room, co-authoring, social media, and so forth. These are some few examples, but within your discipline, you can have a lot more. Yes. And it comes naturally every day. Every developer wanted to be a champion in developing new apps, new gadgets. They are fighting giant there to came up with their new device and gadgets. That we as the end user or consumer, we need to use it wisely. Of course, it is a very fluid movement through different modes of working, from real time into asynchronous work. Before pandemic, we hardly use async or sync. But now it's all within our fingertips.
Yes.
Okay, you want to use your class async or sync? So we definitely will spell out what we are using. So these are, of course, new terminology that become the normal of our daily routine. Some of the recommended attributes under digital skills are convey, articulate, curate, gather, reproduce, processing, collaborate, and design. But it does not bound to these 2, 4, 6, 7 attributes. You can have more according to your discipline. Your discipline needs something like this under digital skills that you go on. Yeah, you could produce many more. Yeah, that suits into your program requirement. Okay, this PL07, which are also a new one, has been described by MPKA and UNESCO as a quantitative skill that require learners to acquire increasingly higher levels of numerical abilities. It acknowledged as an important living skill relevant in study, work, and daily life. Within the MPF level, the learning outcome may not be specifically mentioned for every level. Okay, this is very important. Not be specifically mentioned for every level, but it is expected that numerical skills are required as an outcome ought to be indicated for every specific program. It may include understanding of basic math, symbol relating to statistical techniques, etc. So meaning to say, MQA 2017 has recommended that every level should have certain portion or certain percentage of numerical skills, but not bound into numerical skill like statistics, mathematics, symbols, but it could be expanded more. As I addressed earlier, like heritage program, they could not think how numerical skills can be inserted into their program. But I said, you might have certain artifacts that should be appreciated. For example, heritage building, for example, or certain artifacts which cannot be found today, for example. So how do you appreciate those heritage according to period of years, you know? So
Yes.
this is something that under numeracy skills.
Yes.
Whereas UNESCO has emphasized that numeracy skills is the ability to access, to use, to interpret, and to communicate mathematically information and ideas in order to engage and manage the mathematical demands of range of situation in adult life. So it's wide range. It's open up, you know, and of course, numerics will involve managing situation, problem, context, or non-real context by responding mathematical content, information, ideas. Even use ways, Google Apps, Google Ways. You need to think on your spatial intelligence. Where is actually this place, so that you can arrive that destination correctly.
Yes.
They could have few, but your mind have some sort of intuitive understanding that, okay, I want to see this place, I want to know this place.
Because the GPS is 1 kilometer.
This is also, yeah. Even there's a joke. We went to one kampong. And we asked the boy nearby, asking about the house. And what did he ask? What is his answer? Gunalah Waze, dia kata. You know, instead of answering our question, can you show us? Can you tell us where is this rumah? You know, and he answered, "You gunalah Waze," dia kata. So now this is common for young generation now. Of course, UNESCO has emphasized on the numeracy skill as tasks on the function of cognitive demands is the key application of the scientific method and towards critical thinking. Okay, majority of situation numeracy skills measured cognitive domain level 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yes, all right. Descriptor, as mentioned earlier, can be used and combined numerical and graphical and visual data for study or work. Examples of numeracy skills are knowledge numbers, understanding relationship between numbers, interpreting mathematical information, visual perception, argumentation and logical thinking, calculation, skill measurement and data analysis, scheduling and budgeting. And of course, understanding trend, working with graphic interpretation and so forth. So this is the attributes or the examples of numeracy skill. It means that it doesn't belong to only mathematical numbers, statistical information and so forth, but it has widened up the horizons of numeracy skills. The last of cluster 3 is LAR, Leadership, Autonomy and Responsibility, whereby the description from MQF for leadership is managerial capacity, autonomy, making decisions and setting goals, responsibility is accountability, refers to an individual ability to build relationship and work within teams. Yeah. So if MQF 1.0, we have CLT, communication, leadership and teamwork. But for that teamwork, actually has been placed implicitly under PLO 8 cluster 3. Yeah, whereby these clusters actually propose and promote the managerial capacity of autonomy to make decisions or setting goals of your teams, unit, whatever level, whereby they're able to take responsibility, accountability, and they develop confident, knowledgeable, able to articulate professionally, and to learn and to adapt resilience in today's life as a risk taker and able to possess intrapersonal skills. So intrapersonal skills actually bound to be under this cluster. Right. This is the descriptor taken from the buku of MQA to 2017, MQF 2.0. Okay. The second last cluster is personal and entrepreneurial skills. Yeah. It has been described as personal skill is a life skills that expected to be used daily. Usually, it's independent learning, self-development. They're able to demonstrate confidence, self-control, social skills, and proper etiquette, and commitment to professionalism in the workplace. It also includes capability to plan for career development, and of course, we inculcate honesty, punctuality, time management, and other good values under personal skills. So actually, we adopt from buku rubric CGPA, mostly under the value, attitude, and professionalism under this. And whereas entrepreneurial skill that has been proposed by the MQA 2017 has emphasized that entrepreneurial skills actually there are certain skill sets that required to improve the skill, knowledge, and expertise in the area of enterprise. So certain personal qualities include creativity, grit, and drive. The drive to be entrepreneur is a set of personal skills that also require the requisite of relevant knowledge, cognitive, and functional skills. So entrepreneurial skills for non-entrepreneurial higher education provider can actually practice certain values that has been proposed here. Yeah. So from MQF 2.0, the entrepreneurial skills is a competency that can be selected in certain projects. They are able to demonstrate and appreciate broader social, political, economic, and cultural issues according to local and national and regional level. So some of the attributes that I can share under personal skills, we have actually proposed intrapersonal skill, autonomous, proactiveness, achievement oriented. So these are few attributes that has been recommended, but again, we can expand according to the discipline of our study. Whereas attribute, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that has been categorized from our RGD, from the experts of entrepreneurial scholars and expertise. They have come up and suggest these few attributes: self-efficacy, competitive, networking, calculative risk, innovative, opportunity or recognition, business acumen, and so forth. Yeah? So I would like to share some kind of CAP of entrepreneurship, whereby how do you place entrepreneurship skills in our courses. So usually under this affective domain, actually there will be a task given to promote, to increase their entrepreneurial mindset and entrepreneurship skill. Yeah. Okay, like at UMK, we actually has the attributes inventory in the book that we have built. That student who student able to use this inventory to review what level of their entrepreneurship skills actually is also embedded in this book. Last, the cluster 5. Cluster 5 emphasizes on ethics and professionalism. Basically, these clusters actually emphasize on how to improve students' ethics and how to make them, to propel them professionalism. So these are the the description given under the Malaysian Medical Association, captured in 2007, some descriptions of ethics and professionalism from the MQA 2.0, yeah, and from buku rubric, the descriptors as ethics and professionalism is to demonstrate and adhere ability to identify ethical issues and to make decisions ethically and act professionally within social and professional environment and practice. Of course, we have some ethics to follow, we have etiquettes to follow so that we are professional enough. So within our framework of work, we practice ethics and professional so that we're able to share these values within our student later on. Okay, these are the attributes adapted from XGPA rubric book. Basically, we take the whole chunk of it into this book. Yeah. Okay, I think that's all my sharing. I have few more minutes if I could have any question. But first of all, I would like to go through some question here, or maybe Dr. Denis.
There are two questions here, which is we
Yeah.
missed from the Facebook.
Yeah.
The first one, it
CLO
says,
map to multiple. Okay.
yeah,
Okay. There was no restriction. There was no instruction by our KPT or MQA that there is no restriction that one PLO must make one PLO. No. Okay. Why this happen? Because one CLO could be mapped into several PLOs. Yeah? For example, you determine student able to capture one CLO into two, for maybe one on cognitive, one on ethic issues, maybe.
yes.
Yeah? They're able to practice cognitively, but with ethics values, maybe.
Yes.
But there's some whereby in my case, in our case, in UMK, the demand for one CL to one to PLO because our system cannot accept two PLO under one CLO. That is just the reason for me to answer the question. Yeah, but there was no instruction to stop from mapping one CLO to many. You can, but my advice to courses developer, my advice to CLO developer that you can divide the CLO, that one particular CLO into two PLO into a new number, a sub number, maybe,
Yes.
so that you are happy enough that you want to measure that particular CLO within two PLO. You can do that.
Yes.
But in our case, our system, our management system, our online system, unable to capture one CLO into many PLOs. Yeah.
Yes. The same with UMS.
Oh, okay. You still use that, right?
Yeah, because we need to do that because I think it's quite difficult for the system to have
Capture.
to capture that in terms of the data, the data structure. I think.
Okay. Now we have
Then-
Kelly ID who question on the Facebook. Is there any other curriculum design? Yeah.
Traditional one.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Before we have OBE, actually we have product-based learning outcome, product-based. Yeah. We are process-based. We are process-based using OBE because dalam cabinet paper pun tak cakap pun OBE, dia kata learning outcomes je. They did not specific on OBE, but OBE may be suitable at that point of time that OBE is more like giving experience to the students actually. But there are based education, the design, or technology-based education, outcome-based education. There are a lot actually. Kalau you baca banyak buku, we are not bound until OBE only. Yeah. Other than OBE that you think suitable to our mission institution. Yeah, we can propose. Yeah, we are autonomous. Yeah, so but okay. Sometimes we just follow the crowd. Yeah. All right. Now members, we still thank you for stoning yourself until the 3rd hours. Yeah, thank you so much. With my little knowledge that I'm able to share, you can ask a question on the pedagogical sides, or you might question me on the OBE sides. Please to answer within my understanding and within my capabilities. Thank you.
Okay, we welcome questions.
Yeah,
I think you just unmute yourself.
Yeah. Maybe kita ambil gambar lepas tu dia orang keluar. That's what I did every time in my class. Okay, we take pictures there, then I saw many came out lah. Okay, friends in UMS, I wish to welcome any question within my capacity to answer.
This is a good opportunity to
Yeah.
ask from the source.
Yeah.
Or else I ask.
Again, okay, good. Go on, please. Yeah. I saw many familiar names. I was with this group too when I did the qualitative research webinar, I think last
I see.
year. Okay. Any question on both important slides presentation just now?
Prof,
Yeah.
the MQF second edition is really ring a lot of bells with the 21st century's skill. Is it purposely been designed to be aligned with the 21st century skill? We have the 4C, we have the IMT, and also the flips. So is it is it Malaysia already saw this the 21st century's framework as a good way to make education, higher education, to be parallel with that?
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Dr. Denis. Yeah. When I read certain framework throughout the world, like Bologna process from Europe, yeah, and then we have TESA from Australia, yeah, and then from the Scandinavian country, they have their own qualification framework. They actually insert the digital skills into their framework actually, because they want to match what's best to cultivate the current generation, especially to face the millennials. So I think that digital skills are much very important in terms of when 2016 World Economic Forum, when the speakers talk about fourth IR, that's the move into using having digital skills in our framework. Yeah? So I was the visiting professor at Center for Education and Assessment at Helsinki University, Finland. When I discover and read throughout the Finland higher education qualification framework, it has emphasized even from the very young level.
So we are moving forward.
Yeah, I just want to raise a question. What do you think about learning analytics, which I share in my previous slide? Actually, that is the truth, the moment of truth of PLO, of the PLO that we used to assess and used to put into our courses. What do you all think? because we have the learning analytic algorithm to calculate student analytics, learning analytic, whereby student has achieved certain PLOs. So we able to give the machine will able to give information to the students that you are good in this, you are lack in that, you need to improve in this, you need to facelift yourself in certain learning outcome. So machine will tell them using our analytics. So
Meaning
we have come to that stage already.
that's good actually. That's good, I think.
Yeah. What would your UMS colleagues say about it? Yeah. We are on the midst of getting towards the system, which we actually have developed, but it's actually based from ICGP algorithm, yeah. But we expand because we have a lot of data, so that data we sync into the analytic algorithm, so that student able to get the information immediately what's lack and what need to improve. So what do you all think actually? Is it suitable?
Okay.
What do you all think?
Any response?
Any response?
Assalamualaikum.
Yeah.
I'm just curious also about the analytic. It depends. It's good for the student, but it depends on is it clear in terms of attributes? Because if it's just talking about the PLO, so communication skill, in which attributes that they can improve.
Yeah.
It can be breakdown into
Yeah.
attributes and sub attributes. That would be more.
Yeah.
I mean, the data itself be more clear because the student might want to know that, okay,
Yeah.
my communication skill is not that good, but which part is I need to improve? So if I know that which attribute, each single attribute or sub-attribute, then would be better. I guess that's my opinion.
Yeah. You are already with me, Prof. You are already have the same level thinking, yeah, my level thinking. Yeah? So we have humongous data on student performance. So how do we use this data? How to help the student rigorously? So are we putting the data just for the sake of reporting to the top? Are we using this data to help the student? So now we actually develop the algorithm so that the humongous data can be usable towards giving student their progress. So machine will give the responses. So machine does not sleep. Yeah. So actually we develop the algorithm. So the algorithm will emphasize on the area of what they need to improve. Yeah. Of course, on the algorithm itself, we are also putting the rules. Yeah, let's say they are not performing on certain PLOs or certain attributes. There will be a quick response from the machine telling that which are the part that they need to improve, so that that with that information they would use the information to seek for more improvement. So I think I suggest my take is that I wish many of you understand about learning analytics from PLO performance. If I could go back my earlier slide just now, the cyclic process of OBE is not only having OBE as our design, not only having OBE using constructive alignment and UBD, understanding by design, but what's next after having all the data? What's next having all this full, a lot of information? So OBE actually helps students to undergo the whole process of learning. At the end of the day, their performance, which we assess them throughout semester, throughout their assessment, through formative, summative, continuous assessment, final exam, whatever task we give them, there should be also a reciprocal information for them.
Yes.
I undergo certain training. Okay? For example, I undergo certain training. I wanted to know what is my level of knowledge or skills. Yeah. So I need to see the gaps so that I can improve from the information given from the learning from the machine. Actually, we develop the algorithm to ensure that information from the data should be displayed to the student. I think
Yes.
it's high time now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like for my experience, Prof, the most challenging part is to not actually to report the students' achievements to the university. It's actually to give feedback to the students. So
Yes.
if I'm dealing with about 100 students and I have to
Yeah.
respond them every day, so
Yes. Yeah.
that's
You're
difficult. So
unable to do that. You're unable
yeah,
to do that. Yeah. Yeah.
if we have that AI to do
Yeah.
it for
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
basically about 50% of
Yeah.
that work would
Come
be.
and benchmark UMK then.
Yeah, I'm interested already.
Yeah, you visited already. Yeah, yeah. I remember during ICGPA, right? So
Yeah.
we use the algorithm of ICGPA and looking at the performances and student reporting. So that from that performance, we develop the rules of how to inform the machine into the analytics. So
Yeah.
we call it learning analytic machine. Okay, I think high time to everyone to have that because we are unable to do it 24 hours. Yeah. Maybe we can able to read what their responses in their essays or in their portfolio or in their assignment, but I think we need to have the machine to help us to indicate student performance, maybe on certain areas.
Yep.
That is my advice. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see the purpose. I mean the benefit of doing this because last time when ICGPA was introduced to us, so I was thinking why is it making this thing
Difficult.
redundant? But when it said, I'm the one of the people who said no, I'm not going to take the ICGPA. But when you says about this thing, this data is to be used for to informing students. That is
Yes.
more important, not
Yeah.
informing the outside people about. No,
Yeah.
it is more. If it's for the learning, yes, it is good. So I
Yeah.
will take that one.
Yeah. Thank you for remembering my words. Yeah. Yeah. We take the responsibility to educate our young ones, to our student. So how was the weight? How was the weight? What are the weight? Is it lightweight? Is it heavyweight for us to inform back to our student actually what you have gained throughout your study? Yeah. If they have already get the information, student able to detect and determine what more and where more to improve. That is my take. So it is a waste if we just sit in and execute our teaching lesson, teaching time, but at the end we are unable to give the exact information that hi student, this is what you're supposed to be. Hi student, this is what you able to do. But this is now done by robots.
Robots,
Even
yeah.
now you want to park your car, also robot say, okay, left, right, man. See, Sophia has done that one. Okay, I think it's already past 12. Dr. Denis,
Yeah.
thank you for
Yes.
so much of your
Thank
time.
you, Prof. Thank you.
Thank you for everyone's time who stoned yourself until now. I must apologize any shortcomings from me. And my sharing, I will share the slides later on to Dr. Junaida and Dr. Denis. Okay, thank you everyone. Take care, stay safe.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Okay. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, Prof. Surya. Very
Yeah, tak nak
enlightening.
ambil gambar. I don't want to take pictures.
Hey, yeah, what happened? Yeah, I'm waiting for that.
Okay, come.
Dennis, gather them, Dennis.
Okay, let us take pictures. or rather print screen.
Oh, I stopped sharing. Wait, I stopped sharing.
Okay, I invite all to put on the camera.
Okay, thank you. Only 3 of us want to show
Hey,
our face. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Prof. Wong. Look good.
hey, thank you, thank you.
He always looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Prof. Suria, I really love your energy.
Thank you. Meeting students and people are my energy.
Oh yeah, good one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Okay.
You all work from home, everyone, is it?
Yes,
We have
at the
to.
moment, total lockdown. Total
We
lockdown.
lock down. Look, we already lock out.
Stay safe, everyone. Yeah.
Okay, I think only us, huh? Okay, I take
Okay,
I
thank
take
Okay,
you.
Denis, congratulations, Denis. Very well organized, very well moderated.
Yeah, thank you.
Still learning with this Webex.
Hey, very well
Yeah.
done. Good one.
Good. Thank you, Prof.
Hey, thank you. Bye-bye.
Mana Dr. Junaida? She has
Oh,
meeting?
Dr. Junada have to be with the MQA.
Oh, okay.
MQA
2
closing.
legs at 3 legs at one. Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing now. we are attending meetings, like 2-3 meetings in 3 different
Yes.
devices. Okay, thank
Okay,
you,
done?
Prof.
Okay,
Okay,
thank
done.
you. See you all, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prof. It's a very
Bye.
good sharing. Thank you.
Thank you.